Hey there, Tim Lyons here with Profit Marketing Solutions, and I am the next guest on the Way More Customers podcast. You're going to want to tune into this episode. A lot's changed in the industry, a lot's changed in the fitness in the world, actually, and with changes comes opportunity. And in our episode, I go over some of the changes that have affected the industry, as where I think it's going. So, if you're interested in that, you're going to want to tune in to the next episode. See ya. For us, being online wasn't the best choice. I mean, we did it by default and having to, but being training clients in person, that's what we're known for, and that's our bread and butter. So for us, it didn't make much sense to only go online. We have it. We still continue to train clients online, and we still have clients that normally would leave town. Like we have some clients that live in Canada. They leave for the summer because it's super hot here, and they go back to Canada. Well, they stay online with us and they're training with us. Normally they would put their membership on freeze, and so that's a great asset to have, and we were forced to do it. And so might as well make the best out of the situation. Let's keep that and keep those clients training and paying us while they're out of town, and when they come back in the fall, we got them back again. So I think it's a something that we're going to obviously keep, but I don't think we're going to try to force grow that until we make sure our gym's stable again.
Okay, awesome. So, do you think that now people that are going to be going back, do you think they're going to be going back more mostly online or mostly in person, like slowly, slowly?
Our current clients, you mean, like the gym owners' current clients out there? I think they want to come back in. I think if you have 100 clients, I think 70%, 70 of those clients are going to come back in, and maybe 30 are going to want to stay online. And then eventually, after they get more comfortable, all those 30 people come back in. I don't think there's going to be, hey, I never want to go to the gym again. There's going to be a percentage of those people, but for us, it was like less than 5%.
Okay, awesome.
So let's
Um,
focus.
so yeah,
Let's say,
I'm sorry.
go ahead, man. Go.
Okay. So Tim, I want to ask for your gym, is it one gym that you have?
We have one. We're actually in discussions about buying some buildings and putting in other locations right now. So that's our next chapter. But we've had one gym for 10 years. We've grown it to 8,000 square feet. Uh, you know, Near $1 million now. We've lost some revenue, but we've been over 1 million before over the 10 years per year. So it's for now it's one, but we are in talks to kind of expand now.
Wow, awesome. And about how many members do you have, or before this situation you had?
Well, we're a training gym, so all of our clients pay, on the low end, about 150 bucks a month to, 450, 499. Some of them pay 499 a month. In before the shutdown, I think we lost 54 clients is what we lost. Out of those 54 clients that we lost, I think 70% are back, and then there's still 25% that are waiting and seeing what's going on. But some of them are training online too. So we're actually near back to where we were in only 2 weeks. So that's a good sign.
Okay. And so when you said 54, you lost about 54 people. So in total, like approximately in your 8,000 square feet, how many members can you fit in?
We could fit 500 clients in here. We've been in this space for just under 5 years. In this location, we're sitting around 325. So we lost 54 of the 325, but now we're back up to 300 again. So we could grow it. We could grow it to 500 pretty easy. But we've changed some things, and I can get into the model change if you want to, because before we had a lot of large group training going on in here, which large group for us is like groups of 10, 12, 15, 20 people training like metabolic conditioning versus our semi-private training. Since coming back out of the lockdown, we've decided to switch and go almost all in on semi-private training. And for us, that's, 6 clients to one coach, individual programming, strength training, more difficult movements. Everybody's kind of on their own program. That's the direction we're going to go versus we called it boot camp. We cut over 50% of our boot camp classes out, and we're trying to shift people into semi-private training. It's just a higher price point. We don't need to have 500 clients to make $1 million in here. We probably need 350 clients paying the semi-private training rates, which is over 300 bucks each. So it's a good, that gave us a chance to really look at our model and look at, what's going to drive the business into the future. And for us, it's not large group training at a small price point. It's going to be less people, higher price point.
Okay, and so like you're making that decision based like obviously like on revenue, and you're looking at that. Is that the only reason why you moved away from boot camp to like private semi sessions?
Well, there's a lot of reasons, and we didn't just make this decision hastily. We went and looked at the data. Okay, so the first thing we did, we said, okay, how much revenue is this team training membership bringing in? It turned out to be about 12%. So 12% of our total revenue is coming from this group of people over here. Then we said, okay, how long are these people staying with us versus these people? And we found out pretty quickly that our team training bootcamp style members were staying about 9.8 months on average versus 36 months with our semi-private training clients. So not only are our semi-private training clients paying more, they're staying almost 3 times 4 times longer than our lower paying clients. Now, is it easier to sign up a boot camp client? Absolutely. We can run campaigns and sign up people at that low price point all day. However, the value that those clients bring into the business is not nowhere near what these clients are. So that was the first thing. We also said, okay, revenue per hour. Okay, so if we have boot camps versus semi-private training, how much revenue can we generate in that hour with that same coach? Well, obviously, we needed to have like 25 people in a class versus 6. Okay, so that was the next thing. And in the back of our minds, the entire time, we said, you know what? Do people really want to get into a room with 25 people and get sweaty next to each other? And we're like, probably not. With this COVID situation, we kind of felt like there was going to be some resistance to that anyway. So that those were all the things that said, you know what, let's cut team training out of this as best as we can. And we limited the classes down to 12 people, and we've got people spaced out, and we've cleaned the equipment in between rounds and all this stuff. We had to do all this extra stuff with team training. So not only do they stay, they don't stay as long, they pay less, it's harder to train them, there's more resources given to that style of training. We just decided it's just kind of a no-brainer. Let's just go all in on semi-private training.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. It makes a
Yep.
lot of sense. Let's talk about how you got started in fitness, and how
Okay.
you decided to become a gym owner.
Yeah. So, my story is a little bit different than a lot of gym owners where, I was never a personal trainer to come out of the gate. A lot of guys come out as personal trainers. They work for a gym. They're like, I can do this better. And they go open their own place. Maybe they found a wealthy client to kind of fund the deal. And that's not how I started at all. I actually was working in construction. I was a college football athlete. So I was used to being in the gym for, my whole life. And I just enjoyed training. So working out was always something, it was something kind of ingrained in me. I was living in a small town here in Arizona, and I was working at a construction company, but I had to get a gym membership to go work out. So I found this guy, actually the only gym in town. There was a little small boutique gym, but then there was this Anytime Fitness. And back in 2008, Anytime Fitness was, they were just coming around. They wasn't as big as they were now. And I saw this guy running his operation where he was a police officer during the day. He had this gym, and there was 1,400 members all paying him like 40, $50 a month. And he was never there. I was like, you know what? This is a really easy business. Let me just do what this guy is doing. And I was in construction, managing projects all over the valley, and ended up starting designing plans and to open a gym. And about that same time, really with about 2 weeks before I was about to open, I got laid off. It was the recession of 2008 in Arizona was hit probably one of the hardest. Las Vegas, Arizona, Florida got destroyed, the housing markets. And because I was in residential construction, you're on your ass. I'm sorry. You're out on the streets without a job. And they said, sorry, there's nothing we can do. There's just no money left. And the company that had hundreds of employees was down to just 4 employees, which was the 2 owners and a secretary and 1 construction manager. And that was it. Everybody else had to go find new jobs. Luckily, I was 2 weeks from opening. I opened a gym. It was going to be an Anytime Fitness, but the guys, that investment group in Arizona, owned all the rights to the territory. I couldn't open one, so I opened my own gym called Pulse Fitness. And we were going to just be like Anytime Fitness. We were going to be a 24-hour facility where we had personal trainers in there if you wanted them, but mostly it was just a general access facility because I didn't want to be involved. I wanted it to be a business that ran itself, and I didn't have to be there. Well, because I got laid off, I had to go all in on the business. I learned pretty quickly that Anytime Fitness model without personal training wasn't going to last me very long. So within 3 months, I had just wiped the whole thing. I changed the whole gym model, went to a training facility, and this was in 2010.
How did you pick
So
that up?
what's that?
How did you pick that up?
Well, it was pretty clear when I was looking at my numbers pretty closely, very hands-on in the beginning. We weren't going to make it based on how many clients we were getting, when the rent was going to be due, and all these expenses that came up. And I also noticed the trainers were making a ton of money, but they were independent trainers. They didn't work for me. They paid me rent, and I was feeding them clients because I didn't really care about the training revenue. I just wanted gym memberships. And I realized really quickly when they were making $5,000, $10,000 per client selling them training packages, and I was making $30, something was off. They had no risk. I had all the risk. So I just made a change. I said, you know what? If we do keep going this way, within 6, 8, 10 months, we're probably going to be closed. And that's really the thing that happens with a lot of small businesses is they underestimate the capital they need. They think things are going to be a lot better than they are. And when you get into the business, things change rapidly and reality set in really fast for me. And I said, you know what? If I don't change this, we're not going to be open in a year. So let's change it now. Bite the bullet. I wiped out all the equipment. I didn't even own the equipment yet. It was like 6, 8 months into the business. And, I threw all that stuff in storage. I opened up the training floor. So space was our best piece of equipment we can have. And I just started hiring trainers that worked for me. And then I slowly started getting out of the hole. And really, we blew up, to be honest with you. When you look at the trajectory after that change of the first year going into a training facility, we blew up. We had so many people. We had to open the doors, and we were training in the parking lot while we were training inside, and it just blew up in the area, which was awesome. And then within 4 years, I had to go and find a new space to move the gym out of. So we went up from 3,000 feet to 8,000 feet. And then we continue to grow over here. So, and now we're at this point where we need to probably have a couple locations. And that's really what I'm in discussions with right now is to probably buy some buildings and develop some land and do some cool stuff to where I have these little satellite locations, but continue to have this as like the headquarter one. So that's how I got into the business of gym ownership. How I got into the marketing side was pretty interesting. This is where the whole thing changed for me.
Before you get into marketing, I want to just
Yeah,
because I'm gonna forget. There's a couple of things I want to from your story. There's a couple of things I want to mention. Like you mentioned that you wanted to get into business because you wanted completely hands off. You saw this
yes,
guy was a police officer. He was very hands off. You wanted something similar, but like you got into the business, but you spent so much details in like the minor details in terms of expenses, in terms of profit, where you're making money, where you're not making money. When you're a new business owner, you don't have that, experience. How did you like discipline, or how did you get that knowledge to actually focus on in and like look at the expenses, even though you're not good at it or you haven't done it
hmm
before?
it's a really good question. Nobody's asked me that before, and it came down to my dad. My dad was an entrepreneur. He's run companies his whole life, and he would, instead of him teaching me, he would hand me a book. He would say, "This is the book you need to read." And in the beginning, when I was really young, it was like books like Who Moved My Cheese. If you've ever read that, that thing's like 15 pages long, but it teaches you big lessons. And the two books he gave to me when I opened the gym was E-Myth, which was the staple in just about every entrepreneur's journey was E-Myth, and Cash Flow Quadrant by Robert Kiyosaki. I read them both multiple times. E-Myth made a lot of sense, but it seemed like a lot of work. The whole idea of that book is to treat, even if you just have one location, to treat it like a prototype and to build your systems and build like as if you were going to do a franchise. That to me seemed like too much work. And, I wasn't ever going to do a franchise, but I took the lessons out of that. And then I looked over and I read Cash Flow Quadrant. And if you've ever read that book is the one that really changed my mind on everything. And that's the one that categorizes everybody that's in the workforce into four categories. Number one, employee. Employee is obvious. You go to work, you punch a clock, you get paid for your work, and you go home. That was the top quadrant. The bottom left quadrant was self-employed. Self-employed and business owner, which is the third quadrant. People get those two confused quite a bit. Self-employed people means that you own a job, and without you being involved in the operations, it won't generate revenue, turn a profit. The biggest difference between self-employed and a business owner is that the business owner can remove themselves from the operation, and they own the systems, and the systems run the business. That's where I finally said, aha, I need to get out of the self-employed quadrant and get over to the business owner quadrant, because if I don't, I'm always going to be involved and I'll never get out of this place. And that's what changed the game. So my dad giving me books, because he knew I wasn't going to listen to him, but if I read the book, I might listen. He knew what was in the book, and he knew what I needed to hear. He just gave me the book to get the message to me. And then the final quadrant's investor. That's when your money makes money and everything's, you're not involved in any of it. So I'm living in the business owner quadrant for Pulse Fitness, and in ProFit, which is the agency, I'm still self-employed. So once I figured that out, everything made sense. And so I had to go learn that stuff and figure out how to get myself removed from the operation if I was ever to get out of the day-to-day here.
Okay. So, when you were working as a construction worker, like, to be able to open a gym, you need to have funds. So, were you like collecting money on the side, and you were like hoping to start a business in the future?
Yeah, great. These are great questions, man. The honest truth is, my wife had a very good job, and she was making well into six figures, and we had saved a lot of money because we lived still like we were college kids, and we saved up a bunch of money. But that's not how I really got started. That's what kept me in business. How we got started, it was my dad again said, hey, you need to go write a business plan and go have a meeting with the bank, and you need to go get a loan and get funded for your operation. And so one weekend I went to Starbucks, and I had this whole plan. I had it all in my head, and I just punched the keyboard for about 4 hours with like six giant coffees, and I knocked out this whole business plan in about 4 hours at a Starbucks. I set a meeting up with the bank, and it was going to be a 15-minute meeting. Hey, tell us what you're going to do, and we'll see if we can fund you. And I went in there for 15 minutes. I came out 2.5 hours later. I had the vice president in there, and I was answering any question and every question that I had an answer for. They must have thought I was a genius, but I was just so ready. I was so ready for this thing, and I knew all the answers. They gave me a loan. It was an SBA loan, which for in the U.S. is a Small Business Administration, and I think it was for like $99,000. I think that was like, as soon as you get it to 100,000, something changes there for their rules. So I got 100 grand, just under 100,000. I put it all into the construction. I put it all into the equipment. And again, within 6 months, that whole business plan was out the window. Nothing mattered anymore. So we had to figure it out, but I was already on the hook for the loan, and we had opened. But that's how I got the money, was writing the business plan and going and have a meeting with the bank to get funded.
Okay, so isn't that a huge risk? Like you bought all this equipment, you paid for rent, insurance, bank loan, interest, and then you don't even have any customers yet, and you're not even sure if this is going to work or not.
Yeah, you know what? It's funny because I was on a TV show that the gal asked me this question. It came down to, I was just cocky enough, and I was willing to go in, and I was willing to fail. If I failed, whatever, I'd go get a job, and I would rebuild myself. I wasn't scared to fail, and I wasn't scared to go like I said, what's the worst thing that can happen? I lose all my money and I start from zero. And I was willing to take that risk because I felt confident that I personally could get everything back that I ever needed within a year. And I still think that today. And that's why I take these massive risks, because I'm so confident. And this isn't to be cocky. It's just to say, I'll bet on myself before I bet on anybody else. And I'm willing to do the work, and I'll stay up for 5 weeks straight, just making sure the thing gets done. So it's that tenacity of the entrepreneur and the risk taking that comes into play. You can't be scared, and you have to say, what's the worst thing that can happen? I'm living on my friend's couch for a year, and I'm just going to I'll figure it out. That's what the worst thing was going to happen for me. And I was willing to take it. I was willing to take the risk.
Okay, so you're very comfortable in terms of like you had a job and like you said you can find another job and you were very comfortable. Why would you put yourself through so much pain? All that debt you have, of shy of 100,000, and like do that to yourself. Like you're losing sleep. You're probably not spending as much time with your family. You're not eating as well. Like, why would you do that?
Well, you know what? Not that I'm not a good employee. It's not that. It's just I wanted to build something that I was proud of myself versus working for somebody else in doing just that. And so I have big ideas and I have big, for plans and business and everything. And I just felt I wanted to do something for myself versus going and getting a job and I could be very comfortable. I've got a degree, I can figure things out on my, like, I would be a good employee, but I just wanted something that was mine, that I could look back and say, yeah, I took the risk and I built that thing. And there's not that many people can say that, right? So it's that's really where the drive comes from, is to just be able to say, yeah, I've built this.
Okay, and where did that come from? Like, where did you get the idea of like you wanted to build something and have something lasted? Like,
I think it came from my childhood with my dad owning businesses and stuff, but that really wasn't it because I didn't understand what he was even doing when I was growing up. He had an international company. He was gone to Japan and Egypt, and growing up, he was always gone from the house. But I didn't look at that as being what I wanted to do. But I think subconsciously, that's kind of what the direction I was taking. But I think what it came down to is the construction companies that I was working for, the project that you might build for 2 years, you can drive past that 20 years from now and say, and you can remember the memories of building that building and building that project and saying that I was on that. I see that detail on the the overhang. We had, this was going to be a nightmare and we figured it out. And I got the engineer involved. And like, that's the stuff that drove me to saying, hey, I want to build something I could look back on and say, yeah, all the memories that went into that place versus just going and doing a job every day. You know what I mean? It's just a different mindset.
okay, and did someone like tell you not to do this?
Everybody told me not to do it, including my dad. Everybody told me I was crazy, the recession, don't do it. Everybody, just like when I was going to buy a Harley motorcycle, everybody talked about the crash that their friend was in and he lost his life, and they're so dangerous and don't take that risk. But I still did it anyway. And I think it was because I was wise enough to understand that people are just looking out for me. And the reason they telling me not to do it is because they're scared, not because I'm scared. And that's there wasn't any, my wife was the only person that backed me up in this whole thing. Everybody else, including my parents, said, don't do it. This is the worst economy. You don't want to get into this. You're going to lose your business. Everything's going to suck. And I was like, screw it. I'm doing it anyway. And that's, it's interesting.
Awesome. And so now you want to talk about like marketing, right? Like you said, your business changed. Actually, before we talk about the marketing, like, did you use your knowledge from construction in terms of the way you built your gym?
Yeah. The construction side was amazing because I had architects and I had the contractors all at my fingertips, and I was able to manage the project and build the space out and design it, especially the new space that we moved in 2015. I was hands on. I was in here doing the construction with the guys and running the project. Not that I didn't have a construction company doing it for me, but I was very involved. And I remember that we have a smoothie bar up front. I remember pulling over on the side of the road. I was driving to California. I was like, I got an idea for the detail for the smoothie bar, the overhang. We're gonna have this little detail, and I drew it out and I took a picture and I sent it to the contractor. And when I got back in town, they had built that thing because I thought about it. So these are all the little details that went into this place are 100% out of my own brain because of the construction side. So if you were to walk into this gym today at Pulse Fitness here in Scottsdale, you would walk in, you wouldn't realize it's a gym because you see a lobby, you see the front desk, and it's a smoothie bar. And the gym, you got to go around the corner to get into the gym. And I everything from the hallway, walking down the hallway, I want it to be like coming out of the locker room, going onto the football field. And the coach's office has a glass mirror, and this is how the strength training room was set up at my college, and the coaches could watch the training floor from their office. And everything that went into it, to the leaderboard where we set our records on that's from football, and everything's like built into this place from kind of where my experiences through life, I guess, if you think about it. I didn't just say, hey, let's build a gym tomorrow and just hope for the best. I thought about everything.
Yeah, so that makes a lot of sense, how you took your knowledge of what you had, your passion with football, and how you made something so unique. So, that's
Yeah, man.
awesome.
Feels good, dude. And that kind of goes back to the whole thing I was saying. Like, I'd rather do this and be proud of something than just, go through life just working for somebody and, hopefully hope for the best.
Yeah, and like your experience at a job, was it good or was it motivating or was it just like something you had to
I
do
lo-
for a living?
I loved it. I love construction. I love being on the project, and I love being in charge. And so maybe it's being a leader just in general, like, because even going back to football, I was always the captain of the football team. I was always the academic All-American on the team. It was like I was always that was just my role on the team, and I take that into business too. And same with the team that I run here, my fitness director and my coaches that work for me. I hope they look at me as a leader because I feel like I'm leading. Everything comes down to me. I'll take the ownership of everything. If we fail, it's not their fault. It's mine. And I think it's just a mix mash of my whole life experiences all into one thing right here.
Awesome, Tim. So yeah, let's talk about like your marketing and how you learn marketing. Like I said, you were in construction, you were a gym owner, you weren't maybe like were you struggling to get clients? Is that what you got into marketing?
Well, we had to get clients, right? So I was forced into figuring. Here we go. I had to figure it out. I knew that I would do the work, whatever it took to get in. In the very early gym days, I was really first to the table with automation. There wasn't funnels and there wasn't anything out there. There was email marketing was big. There was obviously direct mail was still big. Door hangers. We did everything to get clients. So I was in that seat. I had to drive business in. We didn't have a whole lot of money to go hire these expensive agencies. And the ones that I did hire, they really didn't do the job anyway. So I was like, you know what? I got to figure this out. So I dove headfirst into email marketing in 2010. So in 2010, I got Infusionsoft. I learned automation. I learned how it could work. And we drove so much business in just with email campaigns.
And
And from
how are you learning these how were you learning email marketing? Were you taking courses? Were you like
I
searching
was
online?
I was I was learning it on my own. It was very interesting. It was I would and again, it was so early, so there wasn't courses. There was books out. In fact, there was books on Infusionsoft, which I still have. I mean, they're way outdated, but giant books. And I would learn, and I'd go online, and I think probably there was some YouTube stuff going on. It's nothing like it is today, where you've got a course for this and a leader for that and a guru for this and a company for that. That didn't exist. There was some coaching companies out there, but they weren't specialized like they are today. So I saw opportunities and I learned, I said, you know what, this will work. And let me figure out how will work. And so I learned copywriting. I learned automation. I learned how to get email addresses. I didn't buy lists. I I guess guerrilla marketed to where I would sit out in front of the grocery store and I would have a sign up sheet for a free week or a free something. I would get one email at a time, and I would get one email at a time. Anybody that walked into the gym, the first rule was get their contact information because I knew how valuable that email address was 10 years ago. And so we've built our list up and we've grown it up. And there's a lot of people that will buy lists. And I think that's really not a great use of your money, but it's also not going to give you a return on your investment because people are not expecting to hear from you. You don't want to email them.
Okay.
So I learned that back then, but the game changed when obviously .com secrets came out, and I read that cover to cover in probably 3 days. And I said, wow, this makes sense. I bought this, I guess this was 2015. I got into ClickFunnels. I was probably maybe 6 months into their company, and I had already had some funnels going on, and Facebook ads was fresh, and I would run ads for my own gym, and overnight I would spend $500 on Facebook and I would make $17,000 in literally 2 weeks. It was so easy because nobody was doing it. And it was like, we were doing 21-day challenges and 14-day programs and all this stuff back in 2015. And I didn't know what I was doing, and I still would make money. I said, well, this is too easy. This is simple. You slap up a funnel that probably had typos in it and everything else, but I just did it. And I ran ads. And I remember, I mean, in the beginning, we would run ads for 2 weeks, spend $500, and we would have 80 to 90 people come in that have already purchased online. They didn't like opt in, and then we had to call them. They put their credit card in online, and they joined the program that we didn't even know what we were going to do with these people. So we just did it, and we started being really successful. And I was in some mastermind groups with some gym owners, and I just started sharing it. Like, guys, you got to do what I'm doing here. Let me show you what I'm doing. And most of the guys and girls that I worked with in the very beginning, they were just didn't want to learn it like I did. And it was, I always felt like it was easy for me to do, but I thought anybody can do what I'm doing. So here, just let me show you what I'm doing. Use this funnel and run this ad and go. Everybody said, Tim, will you just do it for me? And I was doing it for them for free. I would just duplicate what I was doing here for them, and I was doing it for free. And so I remember my first client, his name is Frank Nash, still a good friend of mine in Boston, and we ran his ads, and he had 1,600 opt-ins. Not even, it was probably 3 weeks into the campaign, 1,600 opt-ins and probably 200 signups. And signups, I mean, credit card processed already before. They'd never walked into his gym before, and they sign up online, and he's like, Tim, dude, what are you doing? So I did it for him. I did it for a friend, Whitney, in Pennsylvania, and I did it for this guy Rod in Melbourne, Florida. And I said, okay, guys, I'm doing this for free. I don't know if it's going to work, but I need to test it for myself. So I did it for them, and quickly, and when I mean quickly, within 9 months of doing this, we didn't spend 1 cent on marketing, and we already generated $1.4 million for Profit. And that's where we got our ClickFunnels awards, and all this stuff came out of word of mouth and just taking the risk and being first to market, because there wasn't anybody else doing this stuff. There might have been one or two guys. And that's how it all started. And it was a whirlwind. This was 2016 when I got into it. So I remember our first funnel was July of 2015. And by the end of 2015, we had already done about $600,000 in 6 months. And within 9 months overall, we were at 1.4 million since that first funnel that I did for free.
Wow, awesome. So I want to ask you, like, what motivated you to actually go to the grocery stores and actually give out flyers? Because, like you said, it's easy to do, but not everyone can do it. It's very difficult for you to go in person and stand in front of the grocery store. It could be hot. Someone might see you. Maybe you're not comfortable doing this, but you're handing out flyers, and people passing out flyers. I don't know. They don't look like I don't know, like people have like a bad image of people passing off flyers like they're just trying to make money and stuff. Like, how did you motivate yourself to ignore all of that and just do it anyway?
Probably because that's what people were doing. And it wasn't that I didn't want to do it, because I didn't. I hated it. I didn't want to do it. But I was like, you know what? This is my business. And if I don't know another way. I did some email marketing, but I needed to get the emails to market to them. I said, you know what? This is what people are doing for the gym space. I better just do it too. And it sucked. And we probably didn't get much business out of it, but the emails are really what I was looking for. If I knew my goal wasn't to try to convince this person today to sign up, but if I can get their email address and I can follow up and put them into my campaigns and continue to market to them, I know eventually they're going to take that, jump in and join. That was my motivator. It wasn't trying to get people to sign up today. It was just get their contact info, we'll follow up with you, kind of thing. And that made it really easy.
Right. So, like people online who are very new, they just want sales, and like they try to get the sale like right away. How did you know that it's a process? It takes time, that you need to warm up the audience before you make the sale.
I just said, what would I do? Would I look at this guy and just join his gym? No, I'd probably, to appease him, I might give him my contact information. But I'm not ready right now. And I just started thinking, like, what would I do? I might want to, maybe get some more information. And that's really the direction. I said, hey, you know what? Let us, we got this great program. We're right around the corner. Let me send you some stuff. And then they would give me their info, and then we would start marketing it to them. So for the people that's the unfortunate thing, is because there's so many stories of people just hitting a button and making money, that everybody's so impatient that that's what they expect anymore. But it's all about patience.
Mm.
It's about long-term client value and long-term marketing, not just like, here's my thing, buy it now.
Yeah, that makes sense. So now I want to transition to how did you how did you get aware of ClickFunnels, and like why was it important for you to join the program?
How did I hear? I think I got hit with an ad, to be honest with you. I saw the dot-com secrets book, and I probably Russell was, something he said made sense to me, and I jumped in. There was a couple guys doing some funnels for fitness out there that I started watching and seeing what they were doing, and I was like, man, this would work. This would probably work. Let me try, because again, nobody knew if it would work or not. It was so early, and I don't know when you got involved with ClickFunnels, but 2015 was fairly new, and I don't know when ClickFunnels started, but the fact that it was his launch of his book, I know that was fairly early in their company. That I was like, wasn't really any strong data to tell me if this would work or not, but I saw the opportunity and I just dove in and I figured it out. But you get, even today, you get hit with opportunity after opportunity. You just have to know which ones that make, that have at least some foundation. And I think what is probably what he said was all the stuff that it takes to do a website, because I had gone down that road with web developers and how hard that is to get these guys to perform and how long it takes versus this really quick thing. Let me just do this. And that was if you listen to him at all, it's the new vehicle, right? And I was like, you know what, that makes sense. Let me try this. And it worked.
Okay, so you wanted to do something faster, and like, were you looking for like more control, or like, what was the idea that really sold you of like joining this?
The fact that I could have something to drive people to that I can watch and monitor versus my website, because I was deep in the website game too. I wasn't sitting in just having a website. I was driving traffic to it. I had Google ads, I had SEO going on because that was all that there was. So when I saw the funnel game, I was like, you know what, cool. We could still do that, but let me try this too. And let me try to drive traffic this way. Because everything for the business to grow was on my shoulders because I was the owner and there was nobody else doing it. My coaches were going to coach people once I got them. So it was my job to get the people in and then I had to sell them. And I had to do consultations. We brought the desk over from the original location because it has some nostalgia. And when we calculated the amount of revenue that desk has made when we brought it over is over $3.6 million in revenue was done on that desk. I'm like, we got to bring this desk with us. So it was built in, so I had to like tear it out of the wall. It was like this granite. It's heavy as hell. It's a granite built in like solid desk, but I made sure to bring it with us because it just like this desk is the reason why we're here today. And that's the desk that our fitness director, uses to sign up membership. So it's pretty cool.
That's awesome. So let's talk about some of the campaigns you were doing to get clients, to come in and join your gym.
So the easiest one that we did was these 21-day like fat loss programs. And if you've been around at all in the fitness in the last 3-5 years, you've seen something like this. And everybody has a different version. But we found and we tested everything. And once we got into the agency and we had all these people running, we had the same campaign was running in 80 to 100 different gyms every month. And so we were actually building the funnels, running the ads, getting the analytics. Everything was coming into our ClickFunnels account. I was able to look at everything. And the way the company, the way I structured it was, you're going to pay me a small fee. You're going to pay for the ads, but I'm going to take 50% of the revenue. So I was running all the transactions through my account and I was giving the gym owner a check for 50% of whatever we collected. And not only did we run their ads, we also ran the Infusionsoft on the back end of it. So we would take the leads, and if they didn't buy today, we were continuing to nurture with the like abandoned cart sequences. And I was building everything for them. And it was just me and my buddy Randy, and we ran the whole thing for two people, a whole one, whatever the hell, I don't know how many millions we've made now with two people. And we did everything. We stayed up all night. But at that point, I knew that I can't be in the gym anymore. So I got a fitness director. I promoted somebody to take my role. And while I still ran the gym's ads, I ran the agency's ads too. And so I was pretty much up all day, all night. But the coolest thing is to sit at home eating dinner and email after email would come in and everything was a purchase, 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 purchase. And they were they were all over the US, and we, got into Canada, and we got into Australia, in England, and we've been Philippines. We've run campaigns all over the place. And the coolest thing is to see the money coming in, because we knew 50% of every sale was ours. And but the weirdest thing was we could have the same campaign running in Washington D.C., Florida, New York, Texas, and Seattle, and two of them would suck and the rest would be great, and we could never figure out what was it that made a campaign work in one area and not in another. And I've been down the rabbit hole with this, and it's and I've talked to enough experts in marketing that nobody could give me a definitive answer. While we even broke it down to, we would put three of our worst campaigns up against three of our best, and we would look at everything. We looked at the color of their logo. We looked at, is this a male or a female gym owner? Is this what are their Yelp reviews look like? What was their price point? What was everything we could to figure out why one would perform and one wouldn't. And we looked at their Facebook account. We looked at their Facebook page. What was, what kind of engagement were they getting? And again, this is 2016. And the answer is, there is no answer. There was no reason why one would work and one wouldn't. The only thing that we knew was the difference maker was the price point. So once we got over $247, the sales stopped. So we said, okay, we need to be somewhere between 97 or 67 to 247. And we need to this is going to be the play. And then we whittled it down to $97 was our highest performing price point of all time. So that's how we learned. I'm gonna grab a drink. Hold on. Sorry about that. I was getting a little. It's dry in Arizona, man.
Yeah, no worries. It's a big water bottle.
Yeah, it's a half gallon, man.
Yeah. So, you started learning ClickFunnels, and you start, all these different strategies. Like, how did you know, like, how to test stuff? Like, was someone giving you training? Like, was it easy to learn ClickFunnels, and like, how much of an impact did it make on your business once you start using it?
I felt like ClickFunnels was pretty easy to learn. I mean, drag and drop features, and then they've got so much training. Even then, they had training on like different types of funnels and why some would work for different offers. We were just eyes on. We were eyes on everything. We we're like, okay, why does this campaign just do so much better in this area than this one? So we just learned from our mistakes, and we just continued to look at the data. The data would tell us, this price point for this gym in this area at this, at this time of year, that would be the ticket. And anytime that would come up the next year, we would say, guys, we got to double down. So we would talk to the gym owner. They remember from last year, we just blew it up again. So we just learned.
Okay, awesome. And were you the only person that was doing the ClickFunnels campaigns, or was it also your partner?
Well, I brought Randy in to learn the ClickFunnels, because that was, I was spending the most time rebuilding those campaigns over and over. So he learned it. And then when we got to a point where we were running all these companies, we had, I think we had 12 employees, and I had different people for different parts of the campaign, and they were all my family members. So I had my sister, my dad was working for me, like 4 of my cousins were working for me, 2 of my aunts were working for me, and they're all remote, and everybody was working from the house. But my dad I would give my dad was like our COO for a while. And I basically said, okay, Dad, you need to run the team, which, he knew everybody because we're all family. And it was so cool. We would use Infusionsoft to generate the tickets for our employees. So, hey, Cheryl, you've got a campaign to build. Your job is the ClickFunnels. Here's all the information. Here's the campaign. Here's the gym owner's info. And we would generate that ticket. She would take that as her project. She's a stay-at-home mom. At night when the kids went to bed, she would build out the funnels. They would send them back to my dad. My dad would QC them, make sure they look good, pass them back to Randy. Randy would get the ads going. And then we would tell the gym owner through automation that we launched our campaign. We had this system all down. So we were paying our employees by the project. So I think like the ClickFunnels build out was like $200, and the Infusionsoft build out was $200.
So they would get $400 to do a project, and they would do it, in 2 nights at their house. And it was a great job for them because they had, either a day job and they would do this at night, or they're a stay-at-home mom.
Wow, that's awesome. You know, how you're actually able to convince your family to get into something that they told you not to get into. It's a big changing point. How did you feel at that point?
I felt pretty proud, right? So in the beginning with the gym, they said don't do it, but now I guess I had proven myself to the family that I could actually get something off the ground. So when I had this other thing for them, they were like, "Yeah, Tim knows what he's doing. I guess let's just do it."
Okay.
And it was a great deal for them too. Like I wanted to make it a win-win. Like we from the company standpoint, if we broke even on the build out, I didn't care because I was banking on the sales. The sales of the 50% revenue. In some deals, we even took 100% of the revenue, and the clients, we had different structures for everything. We would take 100% of the revenue, and they would get 100% of the conversions. Like once that person did the 21 days or whatever it was, and they converted to a gym member, then that's 100% theirs. And we might have paid for the ads or something, but it was working, man. It was working real well. But we made a massive change to the company probably 12 months ago. And I was like, you know what? We're working with these gyms year after year, and we've gotten them hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of clients. And they come back the next year, they want more clients. They want more clients. I was like, you know what? This isn't really helping them. I thought it would be. I mean, I'm giving them all these leads and clients, but they're not growing. What is going on? And we found out real quick that leads weren't the issue. It's their business operations were the issue. And I said, you know what, if we're really going to change people's lives, we got to stop, putting a band-aid on the problem and giving them more leads. Let's fix their business first. And then we could do the leads too if we wanted to. And that's where we shifted and we said, you know what? We're done doing funnels. We're done doing lead generation. There's so many companies doing it now anyway that even though that we felt we were the best at this, one, I stopped enjoying it. I didn't really enjoy it anymore. It was too easy, or it wasn't really, again, it wasn't fixing the problem. And I think I'd rather fix the problem than just put a band-aid on it. And I said, you know what, let's look at the business operations and let's have less clients and let's just do more for them. Let's look at everything. So we started doing coaching, and we did some automation stuff because nobody's doing that. So we're doing automation and we're doing coaching now. And so we have way less clients, but I have a way less team. I have a small team. And now I'm doing stuff that I really enjoy versus stuff just to make money. And that's really what it came down to. Yes, I enjoyed the 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 marketing side and the funnel stuff. I enjoyed it. I did. But after you've done 6,000 of them, it's like, okay, what's the next thing? Like I don't need to do this anymore. Let's do something that's bigger and better. And so
Right.
that's where we shifted.
That's awesome. How you're able to get that many clients as gym owners, who actually want this. Do you think that there's like that this industry will ever be saturated? Like if someone wants to like help gym owners build funnels, do you think that all gym owners are taken? There's no more clients left who actually need this. Everyone's helping them, or
There's a yeah, I know. If you look at the numbers in the United States, there's only 36,000 gyms. That's it. And if there's 36,000 gyms, there's probably 20,000 gym owners because there's several that own 10, 10 gyms to one owner. So we thought we've kind of been like, should we just stay in fitness or should we go into other industries? Because fitness is basically you've got a capped audience. And not only that, within the gym space, the gyms that we worked with were training gyms, and so that's even smaller. So it's probably only 10,000 of those 36,000 do anything with personal training. So it's like, there comes a time where you might think like, hey, you know what, there's not enough to go around with all this competition. But then you start thinking, well, man, we only need 100 of them. I mean, if we only had 100 of them, we still be doing really well, or 200 of them. So then, and then we go like, yeah, well, let's stay back in fitness because we go back and forth all the time because most gyms have worked with somebody and either they're still with them or they just got burned by them. And that's the other thing we always had to overcome was we're trying to convince a gym owner that we're not going to burn them. Like they've been burned 3 times from other agencies, and then we're going to try to like win their business. And we kind of got sick and tired of that a little bit because I don't have anybody that hates my guts. There's plenty of other agencies that gym hates, they hate that other company. We may have not done a great job. I mean, I'm not going to be saying that we've done the best for everybody, but I can tell you I've made things right and I'm not going to burn somebody. And so the unfortunate thing is there's too much of that going on. And I was always trying to convince somebody that we're not going to screw them over. It happens too much. And I don't know what it is in the fitness space, but there's a lot of hacks. And I'm not saying this is good or bad, but um, I think the fitness space is really easy to get into. It doesn't take a doctorate. You don't have to be a doctor to open a gym, right? So the level of to get into the business is low. That means there's a lot of people out there that just aren't probably the best business people out there that are trying to make money from other of these folks, and it just kind of it muddies the water up a little bit, and we trying to separate ourselves from that. So it's a kind of this teeter totter thing that's going on in the fitness space. And every time you turn around, there's a new competitor out there. It just seems like they pop up like weeds all the time. And you've probably seen this, right? You see it all the time. And so, and I'm running ads right now, right? I'm running ads, and I'm saying, and there's somebody made a comment over the weekend. I didn't respond, but they said, this message is being pushed down our throats by all you gurus. What makes you any different than the rest of them? And I'm like, oh my God, I've done this for 10 years. I've done two comic club. We've done 6,000 plus campaigns. Like we didn't just start yesterday, and I don't have to prove myself and have to explain myself to some random comment. And it's just it's frustrating, if you know what I'm saying. It's just one of those things that you have to either deal with it or move on into something else. And so that's another reason why we kind of got out of the lead generation, because not just lead generation, there's other lead generation companies out there that work in a bunch of space, and we got to compete with them too. And it's like, you know what, this is all red ocean. You've read that book, right? Blue ocean, red ocean, right? That's all red. Let's go into something that's more blue for us, because we didn't enjoy that anyway. Let's do this now. So that's why we're heavy into coaching and automation now.
Awesome. So for people and gym owners and people who are in fitness who are looking for getting leads, like as more clients, what's like a strategy that they can do to get more clients, like maybe this week?
Well, there's really two ways to do it. You could either do a free trial or a paid trial. And the pros and cons of those are, we always did paid. Like that's everything we did with ProFit was paid everything. Paid 21 days, paid 6 weeks, paid this, paid that. And the biggest difference is the quality, right? You're going to get high volume with free, low quality. You're going to get low volume with paid, but higher quality. So do you want the opportunity? You have to look at, do you have a good sales system? Is your sales system good? Well, then probably going with a free offer, getting more opportunities, because then you can convert, might be the better way. If your sales aren't that great, but you don't need a ton of clients, but you just want really good ones, then I would go with a paid offer. And so we've created something that we feel blends the best of both worlds. And that's what we call our Netflix play. And we run it here all the time. And a lot of our clients do it with a lot of success. And basically, you've heard of Netflix before, right? Right. So
yeah,
it's a subscription where you get a certain amount of time for free, but you put your credit card in ahead of time. And then if you decide you want to join, you don't do anything and it automatically starts billing you. So we do the same thing with our with our gyms is we offer 14 days for free. And when they come in, we tell them how it works, and they sign up for a membership on day one, and they have 14 days to try us out. If they don't want to join, they just tell us and we cancel everything. If they do want to join, great. We earn their business and they start with us right away on day 15. And you can do this for 7, or you can do this for 30 days. It doesn't matter. But when you market, you get high volume of leads because you're using the word free, and it is free. There's no bait and switch going on here. This is free. You come in, you sign up for a membership that starts on day 15. And so now you got this mix of both where you can still leverage the high volume of free. You weed out anybody that's a tire kicker and get the opportunity with them, because if they're not going to join, they're not serious about fitness. Once they come in and do their consultation, you tell them how it works. And if they don't want to join, they don't join. And you don't waste your time for the 2 weeks. But anybody that does it and they train with you for 2 full weeks, they're going to join. I mean, 85% of the people do. So there's very few people that are going to come in and train with you for 2 weeks and say, thanks for the free thing, I'm out. And I mean, maybe 15%. I think that's what we found was 15%. So 85% will join. And we've done enough of these, and we continue to do these today. And without a shadow of a doubt, I can tell you for every 100 leads that you get, you're going to get 6 to 8 clients. So if you say my memberships are $200 a month, let's just say they are, right? And you say, okay, I'm getting leads for $10. I got 100 leads. I spent $1,000 to get 10 to 100 leads. Maybe that's your number. If you're going to get 6 clients that become members out of those $1,000, you just made your money back on month 1. You made $1,200, and then you're going to make it again next month and the next month and the next month. So the return on investment's amazing. You get the best of both worlds. People understand Netflix, so it's a very easy conversion conversation. So that's really what we like right now, and it seems to work.
Awesome. So, you mentioned, a lot of information about marketing, and it's very helpful. Thank you for that. You mentioned also, some of the books that you've read that have helped you in your business. I know that you're also an inner circle member of Russell Brunson. And how was that experience?
Yeah, that was a blast. I'm not anymore. I was there for 2 years, and it was great. And it wasn't because of Russell. I mean, I would tell you that Russell's an amazing person. I enjoy him as a human being, but the benefit, and he won't argue this, is the other people in the group, and he's just the catalyst for all of this. And we have like-minded people in different industries, all in the same group that are looking to level up. And that was the best thing about that group. Being in that for 2 years was amazing people, amazing connections. I still am friends with some of those guys today and girls, and we've done work together over and over and over. So it's just an amazing group.
Was it hard for you to make that initial payment to get into the group?
You know what? Again, my dad was kicking me in the ass. He's always been a consultant his whole life. He goes, Tim, you need to be in that group. And I was at a funnel hacking live event. I think it was in San Diego. And yeah, I remember him telling me to spend the 25,000, and I was like, back then it was 25. And I said, you know what? Let's do it. And not only did I do that, I also put Randy through the $10,000 thing at the same event. So I spent 35 at that event. I don't remember what Randy's was like. I don't know if it was like I was to be certified or something with ClickFunnels certification. So he did that, and I did the inner circle at the same time. And yeah, it was hard, but we bought time. And you know what's cool was I spent a year with that 25, and then you renew again the next year. And I learned so much out of that. I made all my money back in the first meeting. That's when I learned a perfect webinar. I created the perfect webinar, and I made $55,000 on my first webinar, and it paid for 2 years of ClickFunnels. It was like beautiful, or the inner circle. And I was like, done. That was easy. And of course, anything after that was profit. And but that's not the most I've spent on a consultant before. Believe it or not, I spent $12,000 for 1 day with Todd Brown out in Florida. Do you know who Todd Brown is?
Yeah, I'm actually interviewing him in 2 days.
Ask him about Tim Lyons.
Okay.
I spent 12 grand to go and fly out there on my own dime to spend 8 hours with the guy, and it was worth it. It was worth it. So pretty cool.
So okay, so you spend 25K, and they tell you what's in it and stuff. Like, when you say it's worth it for you, did you know how to do this stuff before, like the perfect webinar? Did you have a bit of an idea, or it's like someone who doesn't know what a perfect webinar is, you can join the program, and then within that time frame that you mentioned, you're able to put the pieces together and get that revenue back?
Well, it comes down to trust. Like, I trusted Russell. I trusted because everything he indirectly told me to do through his videos or through his book or all these things made me trust him, and I did. And everything I did worked. And again, it paid off once I got actually in the group, and I went to the meetings, and I was in Boise and did all that stuff with him. No, I didn't know about the perfect web. I heard of it. I'd never done one. And yeah, I learned that from scratch out of there. There's some other cool stuff I've learned. but it was really a different way to think about everything that I was doing. And it opened my eyes up to all the opportunities and possibilities, because he talks about the 4 minute mile. It makes sense too, because I always thought like $1 million was a big deal in a year. We did it in 9 months, but I'm saying it was like that was impossible. I was in my gym for 5, 6 years at that point. I hadn't done $1 million in a year yet. It's like I am doing this for 6 years. How am I going to go do this over here? Well, when I did it for in 9 months, I'm like, well, that basically took the limiter off my beliefs. My beliefs changed, and I was like, wow. And then when I got into the group, and these guys are doing 10 million, 20 million, 30 million a year, and I'm like, whoa, this is where I need to be. And so I always subscribe to the fact you are the average of the 5 people you spend your time with the most. And with all these high achievers, I wanted to be in that group, and that's really where I grew. Definitely.
Okay, so being part of this group, is it like, does it give you like tactics and more strategies, or it's like actually the mindset to like think bigger and do bigger?
Well, I don't think there's anything that he does in that group that isn't also available to everybody else. So it's probably a little bit more hands-on coaching. Like, here's exactly what I'm doing. And you would stand up in front of the room, like you would say, here's what I'm doing. Everybody will either shoot holes in it or tell you how to do things better. And those nuggets that you're getting from the group, because they've all done something similar, that's what catapults you into the next stratosphere. It's the actual hands-on, like, Tim, all right, you just said this instead of that, and you change your price. What if you broken into payments? What would they? And we would do all these things, and it would just work. It just worked because these guys have done it before. And it's like, well, I don't know what I don't know, but you have to be coachable. That's the thing. If you're hard-headed, alpha, my way or the highway, that's not going to work for this type of organ. You have to be open-minded, and that's I. If you think back to my beginning, if I was so like hard-headed, like this model is going to work, I wouldn't be here today, because I changed it within a couple months into the business. I realized it wasn't going to work. And if I was just so strong-headed that I wasn't going to do it, I wouldn't be open today. So you
Okay,
have to be willing to learn.
that makes sense. And we know when you spend the 25K, were you afraid that you like, what happened if you lost it? Like, did you have that in the back of your mind? Like, what if you lost 25K?
Always. You always think about that kind of stuff. So uh I was confident when I put that money down. They didn't have to sell me, like, where some hard pitch going on. I just walked up like, hey, I want to join the thing. Like, cool, fill out this form, ran my card. My card didn't go through the first time. They had to call me later on. Hey man, can you call your bank? Because they thought it was fraud or something. But you worry that, like, what if I just threw this money out the window? Like, I could have used that. I could have bought a car or something with that. Like, it's you have to have trust. And you know what? And you also have to say, if I lose this money, I lose it. It is what it is, and I'll have to figure out a way to get it back later. But I never really thought that I wasn't going to get my money back, especially with somebody as high level as Russell and so professional. I related to Russell. There's a lot of guys out there that have these rags to riches stories. Well, Russell, as much as he tries to fabricate the whole, I had to lay everybody off and I didn't know how to pay people in my phone room and all that stuff. That's he's wasn't ever living on the streets like some of these guys. I never lived on the streets. My parents are still married. I grew up in a nice neighborhood. Like, I related to him. He was an athlete. I was an athlete. That's what the connection made. Some of these guys that are telling their stories about being on drugs and all this stuff and living in the streets and scrapping to get by. I don't look up to those people, and I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, but I don't relate to it. So Russell, I related to, because you know, he was just brought up in the same kind of way I was, and he was an athlete and all that stuff. But he has to tell the story about being not knowing how to pay his employees. And I've been in that situation too, but like, that's not the worst thing that can happen to somebody. You know what I mean? So it was just like, I had a good, I related to Russell so easy. So that's why it was easy for me to join.
Okay, awesome. So I want to ask you now, like, about some of the softwares that you use. If you had to name like top three softwares or tools that's helped you in your business to grow, what would they be?
Yeah, you know what? It's funny. One time I laid a list out of all of my softwares I was using at the time. I was like, oh my God, there's like 15 softwares here. ClickFunnels is a no-brainer. We use it every day. Infusionsoft, for me, I would not run my business otherwise. I run my gym. Well, it's Keep now, but I run it on Keep. I run Profit on Infusionsoft. To me, it's the most powerful automation software out there. And so much that I became a certified partner with Keep, and I sell Keep to any gym owner I'm working with. It's so powerful. So I wouldn't know what to do without that software. And then one more, well, Zapier, if you want to talk about it. I mean, Zapier is so powerful too. We have so much going on with Zapier. Anything else? I leverage two other tools pretty much all the time, which is Deadline Funnel, which is a plugin for ClickFunnels. Have you heard of Deadline Funnel?
No.
All right. Well, Deadline Funnel makes a lot of sense because it allows you to create evergreen deadlines. So evergreen deadlines, like if I have a trial offer here at the gym that's available all year round, how do you create urgency around something that's going to be there next week? And if there's no deadline to it, then it is what it is. I'll just wait till next week to buy. So what Deadline Funnel does is it looks at your IP address and it creates individual deadlines for any new visitor. So if I look at it today, it's 5 days countdown from today, and I come back on Wednesday, it's going to be, 3 days left. But if somebody else comes in on Wednesday for the first time, they have 5 days from that date. And so it's this evergreen deadline timer that I can drive traffic to all year, and it allows me to have that urgency on an offer that's always available. And once the timer runs out, no problem, it switches and it redirects to a higher price point. And so it's not a fake timer. It still looks real to them because anytime they go back and look at that, the offer is now priced higher. So you build credibility that your deadlines are your deadlines. So I like that. And that's the only software I've seen that can do that, versus just kind of like one of those where you hit reset and refresh and the timer restarts. It doesn't do that. It stays rigid to that user.
That's very powerful. So okay, and I asked you about ClickFunnels. Okay, so now I want to ask you, like, top 3 people that really influenced you in your life, in your business, who are known in like as influencer. Who would the top 3 people come to you in your mind?
Well, let's see. My dad's the number one. Obviously, we've talked about him several times today. Russell was a pretty big influence just because of what he talks about, but there's others out there. Probably the biggest influence in my whole business was a guy named Rick Mayo. He's a gym owner. I hired him within like the first year of business, and I asked him and I said, "Hey man, I'd love for you to be my mentor. I'll pay you." He didn't do that for a profession. I just said, "Hey man, I really look up to you and I like what you're doing. I wanted to know if, you'd be okay with me, mentoring me or whatever." I asked him. He didn't want any money for it either. And he said yes. And we've been pretty much close buddies ever since. And he's gone on to build Alloy Personal Training and has over 2,000 locations. And and back then he only had one. And he's just been a big influence because I've had him on my podcast 3 separate times. The only guest that's been on there 3 times. And he's always helped me work through problems, but I always looked up to him because he had something that I wanted and he'd already done that. And I wanted to follow in his footsteps. And that's been a huge influence for me. So I don't know, Russell, him, my dad, probably some football coaches that, nobody else would know. But
okay. So for that mentor, because someone's already successful, they don't have time, they're very busy. How are you able to convince him to take you as a student to learn?
Well, I think he was humbled and like, wow, somebody really thinks that I've, can mentor them. He wasn't, again, this isn't what he did. He was a gym owner like me. I looked up to him. I actually flew out there and I walked walked the gym for 2 days, and he basically opened up his whole books to me and showed me everything. I just saw something better than anything else out there with him. And I was like, you know what, let me just reach out to him and just be transparent. Like, hey man, I really look up to you, man. I would love for you to be a mentor. I'm happy to pay you. I'd love to, if we can keep in touch and all that stuff. So I don't know, man. It's just you got to look and see somebody that's done it before you because they've already learned all the lessons. And if you're gonna pay for anything, pay for time because time's the one thing you're never gonna get back. When you buy a mentor or buy a coach, you're buying time. Like, let me get to the end goal as fast as possible. And that's how you shortcut the process is by somebody that already knows the answer. And if it costs, pay it because you're never going to get time back. Time's valuable. Like if you don't do it, you're going to spend 2 years trying to get to where they're at and you could do it in 6 months. You have a year and a half of your life left. Wouldn't you agree to that? Buying
Yeah,
time is the most important thing.
that makes so much sense what you just said right now. So yeah, thank you for that. Um, if people wanted to reach out to you, what would be the best way? And like you mentioned also your podcast, so you can also like mention the name of the podcast so people can join you there as well.
Yep. So the podcast is Built to Grow. Built to Grow podcast. It's based on the book that I wrote, Built to Grow, and you can catch it there on the same platforms as anything else: iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, all that stuff. If you want to get a hold of me, you can go to timlyonsjr.com. That's my website, and you can just shoot me an email from there or Instagram. I've got a whole 1,200 followers there. If you want to check me out there, it's Tim Lyons Jr. There you go.
Awesome, Tim. So I have my final question for you.
Uh-oh. Here we go.
All right. So imagine you're at home and you have a safe. Okay. To be able to get into the safe, you put your hand onto the wall and it opens up the door. You get inside, and then there's a lock there. Only you have access to this lock. You have a key. You take the key, you put it in. It opens up the second door. Now you go inside, and then there's a briefcase there. In that briefcase, to open it up, there's a combination. Only you have access to this combination. You put in the numbers, you open up the briefcase, and there's one document in that briefcase.
Okay.
On that document, if you were to, leave some advice or tips or strategies or tips of people in the future, if one day you weren't here on this Earth planet and you wanted to just leave some successful tips, for people, maybe your family, people close to you, or just people you wanted to like help, do well in business, what would that document say? What would be the steps and what would be the tips?
Wow, that's a deep question, man. I mean, because it can go a million different ways. So there's three locks, there's three levels of security to get to this thing, and only I know it. All right. So, and don't give up. That would be the third thing. Don't give up.
Wow,
Oh, that was tough. That was tough. That was tough.
but that was very powerful. Thank you for putting it step by step, making it very simple. And I got so much value out of this podcast, so much information. I felt like just sitting with you here for this short time period. I just saved so many years. That's gonna help me in my business and grow. So I really want to say thank you.
Well, thanks for having me on, man. I enjoy doing podcasts, and if I can help one person, man, by hearing this, whatever it is, maybe you heard one little thing that really rang true to you, and that's what you do and become successful. I feel like I've done my job, man.
Awesome. So thank you for coming on to the show. And that's the end of the episode. Way more customers. Talk to you guys in the next one.
All right. We'll see you.